What it is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission Podcast. This is your boy Dave signing on this lovely, cold ass Ontario evening. Of course, you can find us wherever you get podcasts, and that includes Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our friends over at Podbean. And of course, you can always follow us on the socials at Toronto Third, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't send us a DM on Twitter. Apparently, you have to pay for it now, so we ain't about that. Anyways, it's myself and the right hand of the king himself, aka the Mr. Steer Your Girl, aka the Fedora Man himself, Avery Lewis McDougal. Avery, Wagwan.
Yo, I'm good, Dave. And yes, it does cost money depending on who you want to talk to on Twitter. So, hey, if you want to run the pockets of their intermission, we would welcome that if we
Yo,
don't know you.
run the coin eyes, guy. Actually, before we dive into things, like you've heard of the whole Toronto creator beef over the last couple of weeks, right?
I have, yes.
What's your opinion on this? Because like I got 10 cents. I mean, I could say 2 cents, but we ain't got pennies up here in Canada no more.
My thoughts are on that is that listen, I've been going to Toronto in and out for literally decades. I've seen
Hmm.
the accent evolve from the elders, from people who speak that way, and I hate the fact that people who are 1920 are trying to say, oh, it started with us and this is our thing. No, it didn't start with you. It
It
started
never
with
started with them.
way, way, way. They're trying to rewrite history in terms of where that accent came from. It came from West Indians. It came from people from Jamaica, the islands. It didn't come
Exactly.
from these youths who are trying to. And what we hear now, Dave, is, oh, well, you're a Gerber too. Like, that's an exaggerated accent.
What is that? What does that word even mean? Like, yo, tutu's my Gerber. Like, yo, like,
No,
yo.
it's
I know you're gonna bleep this out, but what the is a Gerber? Like, yo, are you trying to baby food me? Like, yo, like, wagwan.
it's And what I hate is that this nonsense is going out there to people across the board, the rest of the world, people who think, yeah, that's a Toronto accent. They're getting the wrong idea of what a Toronto accent is now from this nonsense.
Like, I'm gonna say this right now. The Toronto accent, like, honestly, like, it used to be a symbol of pride, and like, honestly, like, we had some slang back then, like back in like say the days of like 2004, where like we had Cardinal Official trying to make it like big, and then of course we had like Master T, and we had back when Much Music was an actual channel and not just a digital afterthought, you know. It's like we had actual slang, you
Yeah.
know, and like the six wasn't even a thing. It was like the Big Smoke or TO or T dot or like TO, and it's just like
Mhm.
we had solid foundations for what Toronto was and the Toronto accent, and now it's just like it's being used by a bunch of ignorant ass white kids out here in Kitchener. It's like, yo, my name's J baby JJ JJ the kid, and I'm like, yo, who the like you got white kids from Richmond Hill and
The
fucking
guy said,
Oshawa and Barrie trying
the
to
guy
mimic
said
the
Rich,
same accent.
the guy said not Richmond Hill. This man just said Rich Man Hill. Did you hear that?
Like dead ass. Like, yo, you cannot be using two twos in.
Now, don't get me wrong. Are there white kids who grew up in that culture? Certainly there are.
Oh yeah,
But you're
easily.
right.
Because
Yeah.
like, yo, if you lived in Scarbs or you lived in Rexdale or like you lived in the ends, like you lived in Toronto proper, and I mean the six boroughs of Toronto, like yo, you definitely could claim Toronto. It did not matter which part of the ends you were from. Like if you were a GTA man's, then like yo, like it was kind of iffy. If you were outside of the GTA, you were never a Toronto man's in the first place. But like you can't be out here claiming you're from Toronto when you're not from Toronto. Like case in point, Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is not a Toronto man, okay? He's a
You're
Brampton man. As a Toronto resident, then like yes, you understand what the actual Toronto accent is. It's not this like yo, two twos fat Mike Gerber, yo, you're acting like a Gerber, you're acting like this, you're acting like that, nice your beak your nice. It's like, yo, what is this?
Like it's bad, and you go on all those IG pages, you see these kids being asked questions, the kids in their push icy masks in the middle of like square one. Like, come on
Yo,
now, what are we doing here?
right? Like, what are we doing here? I don't know, man. Like, yo, listen, Marlon had to deal with enough flack as it is from like these way shoots like City Boy JJ and Soraya the Flash, right? But like these kids weren't around to have to deal with like say the tail end of like or not even like the tail end like the meat and potatoes of what it means to be a part of Toronto culture. Like folks, let's get back to what we really want to do and talk about hockey culture. No, let me rephrase that. Black hockey culture. And let's talk about our favorite hockey teams one time. Anyways, we got a great show lined up for you, of course. Uh, the Leafs and Hockey Night in Canada being terrible right now. Uh, Big blockbuster trade in the NHL involving a former captain of the Canucks. What's going on with Italy's new Olympic arena? And then, of course, the Sabres basically being the Sabres. And of course, we'll finish it off with the Canada USA Rivalry Series. But of course, let's have some fun and talk about our favorite hockey team, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And of course, if you have been under a rock, the Leafs are not doing great right now. Like, what makes it even worse is the fact that at this particular point in time, the Leafs are not doing very well. It's openly upsetting. I cannot stress this enough. After Saturday night, I think somebody needs to be traded. Of course, folks, if you were watching Saturday's game against the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McJesus coming in and just basically being the second coming of a Toronto man's or Toronto's Messiah at this point, this man came in and basically took the heart out of the Leafs, especially with a brand new goaltender in Tristan Yari. Connor McDavid came in, just basically told Toronto, shut your damn mouth, sit down, and watch how real hockey is played, and just basically sucked the life out of Scotiabank Arena on Saturday night. And it's like it's been a consistent mess for the Leafs, especially on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturdays, where they're basically coming out flat. And you now have to sit and wonder how much more of this can the Leafs take before something drastic happens? And by something drastic, I mean, say somebody gets traded. And Avry, I'm pretty sure you watched that game on Saturday when Connor McDavid was basically eating Toronto's food.
Yes, yes, I was. For those of you who don't know, on 3AP, of course, as always, a group chat is always lively whenever it's Edmonton, Toronto in a regular season matchup. And this is one where, off the bat, like Dave mentioned, off the bat, Connor McDavid has about what, two or three highlight reel goals against Maple Leafs in his career. Just where he's just absolutely pantsing a Leafs D man. I think that's twice now. He's made Riley look foolish on a goal on odd man rush on a breakaway. And that's Edmonton starting to figure things out now as they continue their Eastern Canada road trip. But that was a game in which Edmonton, again, owns themselves. These are two teams in similar spots, trying to figure things out, trying to get things back on track. And with that 6-2 win, Edmonton, they got goals from McDavid, scoring from Nurse. Vasily Podkolzin had two goals. And Zach Hyman scored again. Someone who we saw, a lot of Leafs Nation said, oh, that's a bad contract, isn't going to work out, it's going to hurt Edmonton in the end. Zach Hyman's been, ever since he came to Edmonton, electric in an Oilers uniform. And if you're the Leafs right now, if you're Craig Berube and Bradshaw living right now, you're thinking to yourself, this can't continue as is. We are nearing New Year's, and this Leafs team right now looks rudderless. This Leafs team right now looks like I don't know what they want to be right now. I don't know what the direction is right now as Maple Leafs team, Dave. It is embarrassing. I get it. It's tough. It's tough competing year in Eastern Conference. But this Leafs team has to be better. Right now, time is taping, they're 14, 12, and 5. And in their last 10, they're 5, 3, and 2, which is okay, but right now the Leafs can't be just okay. They are sitting way back in the wild card chase right now in Eastern Conference.
It's it's starting to get downright ugly for this hockey team, and it's like this team either wants to be a former shell of itself or it wants to be better than itself, and it's not doing anything. You know, like teams that they're supposed to beat, they end up losing to, and then teams that they're supposed to end up losing to, they end up beating. Case in point, Leafs are were supposed to beat up on San Jose. San Jose comes back and dummies them in overtime. Another example, Leafs were supposed to lose against Florida a few weeks ago. Leafs dummy Florida, left, right, and center. And they're basically getting like their tires pumped by a guy who has been destroying them for five straight playoff series. And yet still like you have to have other stars from other teams essentially come and save your tail. And now you're like wondering like what the hell is going on in this situation? Like it's one thing to have, say, ESPN pump your tires. It's another to have, say, Brad Marchand, a guy who's basically been changing your diapers every time the Leafs play a playoff series. And as much as I hate saying it, you know, like this man has literally come to the Leafs defense in one of the craziest ways possible, saying like, oh, the Leafs are actually better than they're supposed to be. I don't know if he's saying it as a joke or he's saying it to be 100% serious. But at this point in time, like the fact that you have other stars from other teams that have basically beaten you for the Stanley Cup or are beating you en route to a potential, like, say, conference final or what have you, out here defending you when your captain or your assistant captains haven't even played the way we need them to play. The fact that this is happening is just downright ugly.
Hmm.
And Avery, I'm not sure if like if I would feel safe if I were Austin Matthews right now or William Nylander. Like Tavares already took a pay cut just to stay here. Matthew and I took a pay cut to stay here. You know, the fact that we have shaky goaltending as it is just one thing. But our defense hasn't been great. Our offense hasn't been as prolific, especially with the absence of he who must not be named right now in Vegas. But this is starting to get ugly.
You mentioned that. No, I think guys who are good at Nylander, he's leading the team in scoring, and Tavares is right there at 30 points. But what is just jarring to me is Austin Matthews right now has 21 points and only 13 goals and 8 assists. Austin Matthews just cannot get things going this season. Matthews is having a year that I know he's battled injuries, he's had his issues, but this has been just a stunningly down year for Austin Matthews. This isn't the guy who you expect this deep into a season to have less than 30 points at this time. Last year, Matthews had 78 points last season.
Mhm.
And right now he's at 21. I'm sure Matthews will turn things around. He'll figure it out. But it is still a little bit surprising to see right now him at 21 points, even with how this year has gone. That is someone this team is going to need more of. But because right now, that pace of what he's on right now isn't great.
Mhm. And you know what? Like it really just it's a really eye-opening thing. Like I mean, where has our offense gone? Where has our killer instinct gone? And I think those questions really do need to be answered, within the next few weeks. So hopefully Toronto figures it out. And if they don't, like, who do you think is on the chopping block first?
Well, I think the easiest thing for this team to do is obviously, and I'm not saying they're going to do it though. But I think the obvious thing, easy thing to do is to blame the head coach. It's to blame Craig Berube. I
No, you
think,
can't you can't blame Craig for this at this point because like Craig has done everything he can. And same with Brad at this point. Like you've gone through a rotating carousel of coaches within the last 10 years in Mike Babcock and Sheldon Keefe as it is. And it's like these guys have tried to get this team going, and this team just does not want to go anymore. At this rate, it's like you can't force it on you can't force it on the coaches. You can't force it on the GM anymore.
Mhm.
You have to
Yeah,
start looking at the player. You have to start holding the players accountable now.
yeah. I'm not saying he would fire Ruby, but I'm just saying that the easiest thing for them to do, or easy suggestion, is always when a team struggles, look at the coach. But right now, actually, Dave, looking at the stats from StatMuse, the Leafs are actually, when it comes to goals per game, fifth in goals per game at 3.29, only behind Colorado, Anaheim, Edmonton, and the Capitals. So they are getting production, but that finish just isn't there.
Mm. Well, we have some questions that really do need answering, especially before the Christmas break is done. Because when the Olympic break hits, like Toronto only has like what, maybe 20, 30 games left after that. And the Leafs need to hit the ground running if they especially want to keep pace in the Eastern Conference. Like the last time we had this discussion, like everybody was basically piled up in the Eastern Conference. Like in fact, there was only 10 points separating first through 15th, and the
Mhm.
Leafs were like literally at the bottom, right? All they needed was two good wins in order to be able to get themselves back to a playoff spot. And it's like it's
Yeah.
essentially the same thing. So,
But I would say from an actual roster standpoint, the two guys who I'm concerned about when I look at the Leafs roster, who have been in large part ghosts this year, have been Matthias Michelli and Max Domi. Max
mhm.
Domi is 3 goals. Matthias Michelli this year, someone who brought him from Utah to do a lot more than what he's done. He's got 4 goals. The fact that these two combined have less than 10 goals, that is not good.
No, no, not in the slightest. Especially one of them was supposed to be a replacement for a certain player in Vegas right now, and he hasn't stepped up. So we're gonna keep an eye on this situation, but as it stands right now, as a Leafs fan, I'm frustrated. I don't want to see this team continuously lose, but at the same point in time, like something needs to give. Something genuinely needs to give here. And, who knows, a trade might happen. I mean, look at Vancouver. Vancouver had to basically throw away their captain. And I mean, again, this is a good segue into our next
Mhm.
topic here. But of course, Vancouver threw away their captain for a haul. And Avery, I'm gonna let you take this one over for a sec.
Yeah, so the Vancouver Canucks drama over the past few years, we've all seen what's going on with that team between the JT Miller, Elias Pettersson feud to this team not winning more than one playoff series in the Hughes era. Just so many things with the Toronto Maple Leafs have been chaotic since 2024, and really even before that. But as we saw this week here, a bombshell deal that saw Quinn Hughes dealt to the Minnesota Wild, not Detroit, not New Jersey, Minnesota, a real out of the blue team that I think people didn't even think were on the radar to get Quinn Hughes. But I do think people realize, hey, eventually the Quinn Hughes era in Vancouver was going to come to an end. He talked about, of course, the Hughes brothers talked about, well, in an interview before season began about all playing together. So the writing was on the wall that eventually you would see Hughes moved out of Vancouver, and it came out that Hughes said he wasn't going to resign in Vancouver, and more information came out about the fact that, hey, if this team wasn't chaotic, he would have been open to staying in Vancouver. That's not what he wanted to do. So now he's on his way. Sorry, not on his way. He's already been in Minnesota. Had a great debut at the Wild, being named one of their 3 stars, getting a goal in his Minnesota Wild debut on the back end for a team that's looking to make a move in the Western Conference this postseason. But for the Canucks, I will give the Canucks front office credit for what they got back for for Quinn Hughes. They got Zeev Buium, Marco Rossi, Liam Algren, and a first round pick in the 2026 draft. Rossi and Buium are going to be big factors. I think in my mind that those are two great young pieces to have going forward for Vancouver. But again, Dave, this is the Canucks team sitting in last in the NHL, 11, 17, and 3. And you had Quinn Hughes, who is probably going to go down as one of the best, if not the best, D man in Canucks history. And this team, with Quinn Hughes, won one playoff round. One playoff round. They bumbled around him for so long, couldn't do more than just winning one playoff round That to me is embarrassing, and I wish him the best in Minnesota. But man, that was a generational talent that you couldn't do anything with. That's embarrassing.
No, it genuinely is. And you know what? Like it's it's one of those situations where you are going to watch a certain team, you know, a certain team's administration just start kicking themselves after a certain point, saying, "Hey, we threw away quite possibly the best player we've ever had from a defensive stand as a defenseman, and we basically let him go for a huge package." Now, like, obviously, the prospects that they've received and the players that they've received as a whole, I believe, can do some damage for Vancouver. Going forward, though, I do believe that, like, say, unless Vancouver finds a way to convert that first round draft pick into basically a brand new superstar, come, I don't know, say 2027 or 2028, I feel like this is going to be a nightmare for the Canucks franchise right now. Like it's one thing to, you know, it's one thing to let go of certain things. It's another to let your star player walk and basically ship him off elsewhere where he can get a brand new fresh start. Kind of similar to, like, say, most Leaf players when they leave here and they've had abysmal tenures here, only to turn out to become like basically either legends or star players in other franchises. Like, for example, Larry Murphy, Phil Kessel, Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmore, just to name a few. You know, it's I understand sports as a business, but it's also one of those things where it's just like if you let go of a stock and that stock just starts skyrocketing out of nowhere, you're going to start kicking yourself at that point. And I think Vancouver is going to essentially do that after a certain stage.
That he is someone that should have been a Canuck for life. Drafted by
Agreed.
drafted by the team, 7 years in that organization, did his part, was a captain, did his part to get that team or to try and put him in a good spot. Won a Norris in 23-24. Did all that he could. And his org failed him time and time and time again. Again, Dave, Quinn Hughes had a 92-point season in 23-24. A 92-point season. He had 3 straight years of 70 points or better from the back end, and you
Hmm.
squandered it.
What's going on in Vancouver right now is beyond me, but like that is a very harrowing thing to hear.
Like, could you imagine, Dave, if the Leafs had a D man who had 3 straight years of 70 points or better in 2025, and they
Hmm.
squandered that?
If they had done that to like a young Morgan Riley, like I'm pretty sure this team, like this fan base would have rioted at that point. I'm not joking. Like, I mean, like, or like, say, if you do an equivalency, like, say, if you had Austin Matthews, who was basically scoring 80 goals for 3 years straight, and then you trade him off to, like, say, either Boston or Florida or Tampa Bay, right? Like, and you get like, even though you got like a decent package in return, you've basically thrown away an MVP candidate, an Art Ross winner, a Rocket Richard winner, and potential Stanley Cup winning sniper. You'd want to be pissed too in that situation, and I think that's kind of what it feels like for Canucks fans right now, who feel like they've either not only been cheated, but also just tossed away like yesterday's news, especially when it comes to Hughes. And it's outright upsetting right now to watch this, especially as a Canucks fan. Like I'm not emotionally invested in Vancouver, but like it is a very interesting story to see and watching the Canucks basically throw away their captain.
And I know some people, I saw from some fans, a lot of fans got it. You know what? Hey, you didn't want to resign here long term. We get it. We didn't do right by him, and that's how most Canuck fans were like. They get it. You don't want to
Hmm.
resign here. We didn't do right by him as an organization. We understand that. But there are
Yeah.
some fans who are mad about that, I think about that. I think about that whole, oh, well, and again, that isn't the majority, that's a minority who are thinking that way. I look at
Hmm.
that and think to myself, he's doing what's best for him by not resigning. By not resigning, he knows he sees his team not going anywhere, and he wanted a fresh start. And I get that because if you're and he deserves that. He's
Hmm.
done everything what he could do for the organization. And again, if a player comes to me and says, you know what, hey, thanks for your time, I'm not going to resign here next year. You know what? It is what it is. Quinn, you've done all you could. I get it. We'll try to find you somewhere else to play. We'll try to get a deal for you so we can get something back for you. We're not gonna let you walk for as a free agent. Obviously, we're not gonna let you walk as FA, of course. But that is where I work to get a trade done so you can go somewhere we can get something back for him. And I get fandom. You're mad. You wish you would stay forever. But the blame in that part, to me, again, that goes to the organization for not surrounding him with the pieces so that he could have a deep playoff run. And the same thing for the Leafs. Like if one of these bigger names, if a Nylander, if a Matthews, when the time comes, if they say not going to resign, if the Leafs have made a Cup final, or if the Leafs to make an Eastern Conference final, and they want to leave,
Heaven forbid.
I would get that because the organization has done right by them to put them in a place to win. I would
Hmm.
understand that entirely.
Hmm. Well, right now Vancouver has some much needed soul searching to do, especially when it comes to trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? Who do we build around? Who do we make our next face of the franchise? Because there are a lot of questions that needs to be answered. And of course, for Vancouver right now, the biggest question is not where do we go from here? It's what is our next move and how fast can we get started?
Hmm.
So, say best of luck to Quinn in Minnesota. Obviously, he's thriving already as it is. Um, to Canucks fans, it can't be as dark as Avery's forehead or my eyebrows, but like,
All right, yo. Look at this man found a way to turn it back into slander.
like all I'm saying is it's not Michael Blackson dark, but it's pretty dark right now.
Jeez almighty.
But I promise you, like when 5 o'clock hits and the sunrise comes out, like and the sun comes out, like trust me, there'll always be a tomorrow. Okay. Anyways,
Hmm.
uh,
This guy. This guy.
all right. Um, Going from one train wreck to the next. Um, what's going on in Italy right now? Because let's be clear here. You think for an Olympic hockey tournament that's supposed to start in less than 2 months, you think the arena would be done by now, right?
Oh, that video from Darren Dreger, Dave. That, that to me doesn't that arena looks maybe 40% done. And again, I'm no expert in arena building, but that
Hmm.
arena doesn't look ready for play by February 5th. What?
Why did it take so long for them to actually even get breaking to even break ground on this? Is my question.
I I honestly do not know. That looks so bad. And if I understand why leagues are saying, listen, if this isn't ready, that isn't ready, we're not sending our players. I get that because that looks awful. That looks like you've been sitting around with your hands under your butts doing nothing. You have to speed things up with this arena being built. That's embarrassing, Dave.
No, it genuinely is because it's like how again, this is like the BMO the extra seating at BMO. Now, of course, you got guys working around the clock, which I openly appreciate. But like, don't you think you should have had this done months prior? Like, I understand, like you break ground, you build a foundation, you have to make sure the concrete hardens, and like again, I'm no expert when it comes to engineering or creating buildings or project management, but like I do know for a fact that I'm not going to half-ass a certain situation and then expect to be able to do a test run Like literally, when you have people first getting into the building for one, and two, you have a potential safety risk in getting people hurt. You know,
Yeah.
like what would happen if, say, opening day at the women's tournament and a slab of concrete or a piece of metal falls on the ice, and next thing you know, an Italian hockey player gets crushed? Whose fault is that? That's the Italian Olympic Committee's at its core for trying to do a rush job in this situation.
like like Troy, on our last episode, Troy said it best. This is a loss. This is gonna be a lawsuit waiting to happen if this isn't done properly. There's gonna be a lawsuit. That's what Troy said.
No questions asked. Like I know the PWHL and the NHL are basically monitoring the situation with a fine
Mhm.
tooth comb. And if I'm either one of those leagues, and I'm also the IIHF
Yeah.
in the Olympic hockey or the Olympic Hockey Committee right
Mhm.
now, I'd look at this entire situation as a whole collectively and say, like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't the vibe.
No, like it's, and you mentioned it right there how they're supposed to test it, and we were saying about Troy like there's no time for a test event, which is supposed to again test out the ice, test out the facilities, test everything out in that building from ice, concessions, toilets. Like you don't have time to do that now because you are looking for an international embarrassment if something goes wrong in either tournament.
Easily, easily. And you know what? Like, this is like reminiscent of like how the United States is right now with the World Cup and with the Olympics currently coming up and its current political climate right now. Nobody wants to deal with that nightmare. And now look at the whole situation. It's like you have FIFA second guessing whether or not they actually want to play games in the United States because half their fans can't even come there now, right? Like I understand, like people are already pissed off with ticket prices. You know, like for example, let's take a look at the Canada Italy game. No one wants to pay $5 to go sit in the nosebleeds at BMO Field.
Well, hey, we don't know yet if it's gonna be Italy, though. I mean, of course, I mean, if it is, College Street's gonna be chaotic. College Street, every uncle and nonna is gonna be out there having a good time. But yeah, you're right. If it is Canada Italy that game, good luck. You're gonna be paying. Yeah, you're gonna be in debt for that match.
No, and there's no Klarna for FIFA tickets either. Like that ass, like if you're using game time, like it's a miracle for you right now. But like again, some of the hottest tickets are either going to be in Canada or Montreal. Half the population of fans are too afraid to literally go out into public without ICE basically trying to fucking snatch them and deport them to El Salvador. Or like you have fans from like say Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Somalia, Afghanistan, Japan, China, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Australia, Thailand, the Philippines, Qatar, um, even Australia, or like even some of the other European countries. Like we've got fans from England and what have you. Uh, and like a lot of these fans have to not only give 5 years of social media history, but also a DNA sample in their firstborn. Like, like
I
I'm
know.
going to come to an international event that's basically asking me for my left testicle, my right testicle, and a sperm sample. Like,
Hey, yo. I mean,
I mean,
I know you're
that's
being
kind of
serious.
that's kind of suspect. It's suspect what I'm saying, but like, again, like the stupidity behind it kind of demonstrates the extremity of what we have to deal with right now.
And I know Canadians were, I know we're exempt from those rules as Canadians, but either way, there's gonna be a lot of Canadians who are gonna stand in solidarity and not go to America for all these World Cup games next summer.
Of course, like they're going to either find a way to come to Canadian games or go to Mexican games. Nobody
hmm
wants to go to the United States.
Now, I think some will go, but yeah, it's people are going to, if not due to the border rules, I think the prices are going to affect a lot of people in a major way. Those prices are gonna because people are not going to. I'm seeing the various nations who have already qualified, who are getting their ticket allocations for the games. And yeah, I've already seen English fans, Scottish fans saying, "I'm not paying these prices to come. I'm not paying these to go watch my team play. I'm not doing it."
Exactly. I mean, I've seen you've seen on social media alone. It's like it's a nightmare. It's a PR nightmare for FIFA as it is, and it's like nobody wants to go into a situation where it's basically a shithole. And I feel like Olympic hockey fans are going to have to deal with the same thing because if this arena is not done properly or done on time
Hmm.
or done with a concerted effort, like flat out, this it's going to be an absolute complete and utter disaster.
Yeah. And
And look,
go ahead,
you,
Dave.
you have like very copious amounts of insurance involved, and then lawsuits, and then of course it's like the I guess the Olympic Games itself will lose significant amounts of money under profit or just reversal of profit after this entire debacle is done.
Yeah. Now, would I know people talk to Bill Daly about this tournament. Now, one thing I do want to ask, I wish people would follow up with on Bill Daly is, of course, the NHL and the PW want to go to the big games, but I would love someone to follow up with Bill Daly. And I know he said how there's no plan B. I would love for someone to follow up and ask him, okay, if the rink isn't ready, then what happens? That's the follow up I want to hear. That is the follow up question I want to hear. Because if the rink isn't ready, what happens then? Because I know there's already baked into these league schedules a 3 week break, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
know what the plan is. Do they revive a plan B? Do they just go back? Do they cancel hockey? Do they cancel hockey altogether at the games? Which again would be very embarrassing. It would be very embarrassing. There's no hockey program for either men's, women's, or Paralympic play. But I want to know what Bill Daly and Bettman are going to say if this can't get done. Because if the alternative is there's no hockey, period, that would be such a black eye entirely.
It's like hockey, ice hockey is your crown jewel of the Winter Olympics. I don't care what anybody says. It is essentially your bread and butter, your meat and potatoes, your gravy on your dry ass turkey. Like like hockey is something not you do not cancel in any way, shape, or form. And if the Olympic Committee it has some sense, they find a way to make this work.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Because again, and how many you only fans would be pissed if this is the first time you're finally getting the proper best on best Olympic Games. First time in 2014, and it doesn't happen.
I'd fight somebody if that's the case.
The
Like no,
first time, the first the first time ever you would see McDavid and Crosby and on a Team Canada at the senior level, and
mhm.
it doesn't happen. I'd be furious.
Be like, yo, these hands would be an Olympic event. Like everybody's winning medals today. Like
Like, it's here's the thing. I'm gonna be optimistic, and I'll say it will get done. But man, just the fallout. I just have in the back of my mind thinking, just knowing that this has been so bungled so much, it
hmm
wouldn't shock me if this happens. But I do think there's enough players who want to be Olympians, who want to go. This is a dream for a lot of players. So I
hmm
do think these leagues say, listen, we have no choice but to come up with a form of a plan B. So maybe it is you go to Switzerland and you put together quickly the ability to play in a national an NLA arena. You play in Switzerland, or you play in a nearby place that can have hockey. Or maybe I mean, players wouldn't like this, but you would still be Olympian. Maybe you keep the hockey tournament in North America. Again, players wouldn't like that because again, you want to go to where the Olympics are, but that might be the only way to keep it going because those arenas are going to have a lot of empty dates across the continent. It might be, you know what? Hey, if we have to do it, this is our doomsday scenario. Olympic
hmm
hockey is played in Toronto, Montreal.
Oh boy,
They wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want. No one would want that. No, you wouldn't want that. But if you can preserve the tournament, say, hey, you know what? It's Olympic hockey still. You're still
hmm
gonna be a gold medalist. It just won't be in Italy. You know what? To me, I wouldn't want that, but I would say this much, Dave. It'll be better than no hockey at all.
No, I fully agree. Um, Honestly, I fully agree with that. And then you know what? Like if someone can find a way to just figure their nonsense out, maybe we can get somewhere. But
Hmm.
until then, like the Olympic arena in Italy right now, this I guess this conversation is still under construction. So we'll definitely keep our eye on that. Um, Going from another train wreck to another train wreck, the Sabres just fired their GM earlier this week. Is that correct?
Yes, Kevin Adams, he is out. Yarmo Kekalainen, he is in. And yo, Saber fans, yo, as much as we've joked before on the show about Buffalo and the team not winning anything, yo, I do feel bad for an org. They have not made the playoffs, Dave, since the PS3 was hot in these streets. They have not
Yep.
made a postseason since kids were fighting over Xbox 360s. That's
Yes.
pathetic.
These kids have not made the playoffs since before Obama got in the office. Like, is that these kids have not made the playoffs since Usain Bolt won his first gold medal at the Olympics.
It is just constant bumbling, and Kevin Adams again, his tenure was a mess. And
Hmm.
I mean, Kekalainen wasn't even that great in Columbus, but at what point does this team just figure it out? Because there are so many fun pieces, young pieces in Buffalo who they've got right now,
Hmm.
and every single year it looks like, oh, Buffalo's figure it out. They figure it out, and then they don't, and then they regress, and then they end the year at like 85 points or 80 points, or there's a year where they just miss a playoff spot by like 3 points, and then they fall back to being a 75-point team. I'd punch somebody. If I was a Sabres fan, I'd put a hole in the wall at this repetitive
I
nonsense.
mean, they already jumped through enough tables as it is. Like, like you might as well just throw yourself through drywall at this point, like the Kool-Aid man. But like
Like,
as Sabres fans, it's like you have only so much nonsense that you can deal with. And Western New Yorkers have a very small fuse. You think New Yorkers are bad, centralized New Yorkers are bad, Western New Yorkers are basically Toronto mans with Toronto mans with obesity and rage. Like I'm telling you right now, like there is only so much capacity that a Western New Yorker can take, especially when it comes to the fact that the Bills have been getting slapped by the Chiefs for so long. And now that you have an open window, it's like the Bills should be able to take care of that situation, no problem. Of course, winning obviously masks everything, but there is no winning when it comes to KeyBank Arena in Buffalo.
yeah. And
And
and for, and for the record, they did see Obama as a Sabres fan because the last time they made the playoffs was actually in 2010, 2011. But still, they have not seen playoff hockey since 2011 in Buffalo. That is, I mean, you mentioned right there the Bills. You know what? If you're a Sabres and Bills fan, you know what? Hey, you do have the Bills, tiding you over. The Bills are a high-powered offense now. They just beat the Patriots this past Sunday. But still, the fact that this Buffalo Sabres team, you know what? Let me go look at the roster 1 second, Dave. The last time the Sabres made the playoffs, do you know where the captain was?
where,
In Buff The captain was Craig Rivet.
bro,
And you're gonna laugh. Nowhere to rely. And you're gonna laugh hard at this. Do you know who their head coach was back then?
Lindy Ruff,
You bet. In his first tenure with the Sabres. The leading
that
goal.
man, that man should not have a job right now. I'm sorry.
It blows me out. Dave, this is where I mean this will be for another show, but NHL coach recycling. Come on. Why
I
do we
know.
keep thinking
I
that
know. This is ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous.
no league loves bringing a coach back for a second and third tenure than the NHL with the same team?
It's like going back to your ex and just expecting a different result and getting the same one.
It is. It is. And with Lindy,
Oh man.
don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to be mean to Lindy Ruff too much, but this man, his first time behind the bench as a head coach was in 1995. 1995.
Um,
You, how do you think hockey's evolved so much in 30 years? So much as a head coach. Why do you think a guy who first head coaching gig with the NHL team back in the mid 90s could still get it done in 2025?
because it gives them that funny feeling.
Oh, like Dave, the first they were still a helmetless NHLer when he was first coaching the NHL in 95. Mac T was still playing with a helmet during his first tenure with the Sabres.
I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. I don't know if I don't know if the Sabres are upset that Haley Steinfeld is gone, but
Like,
just this is just getting ugly at this point.
like, I mean, I wish him the best, but how many more GMs and coaches can you fire? Like, how many more can you go through and have the exact same result of not being a playoff team?
Look, I'm gonna use a Mean Girls reference here. The limit does not exist.
Like, I mean, my best to them and my best to Yamo Kekalainen, but man, this team has to eventually. I've said before, eventually they got to figure it out. I mean, I wrote an article for THN about the Sabres back in 2024. My article was pretty much for Hockey News. Look, the Sabres figured it out. That article aged like some milk on a hot July day in Vegas.
Oh man. Uh, well, you know what? I'm gonna say let them figure it out, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's them problem.
Yep. Speaking of problems, and we're gonna end
Mm.
this off. The Canada USA Rivalry Series had just taken place this past weekend, and the fact that we only knew about it thanks to Avry is downright scary because it's like you'd think for such a big rivalry in the sport of hockey, especially when it comes to women's hockey, you think there'd be some coverage about it, right?
Yeah,
The fact that we ain't heard shit is just crazy.
that was the one thing to me was that covering these two games, covering the final two games, Dave, the marketing just wasn't great. Hockey Canada's marketing of it was not good at all when it came to saying, hey, these games are happening on Canadian soil, be it on TV, be it in the city. It just felt like Hockey Canada was expecting, hey, we're playing games again. Come watch. They felt like the marketing was a sense of, hey, we're here. We don't need to market it. You walk in Canada. We're the national team. I think that reflected poorly when it came to attention online. I mean, I'm not saying right. I
Mhm.
mean, there was writers who covered it, but I couldn't talk like from Hockey Canada themselves. The marketing wasn't great because the first game of the weekend, which the USA demolished Canada, the first week, sorry, which USA demolished Canada 10-4. There was maybe 5,000 fans in the building, Rogers Place. I mean, it was a Wednesday, but again, the marketing wasn't there. I had a lot of friends who said, I didn't know they were in town. I didn't know they were playing. And that to me is a bad sign.
Extremely bad sign, especially from Hockey Canada's standpoint.
Yeah. Because when they were in Edmonton last in 2017, it was over 15,000 people in the building. You had a packed Rogers Place last time we had a Canada USA game for women's hockey. And the other game where USA won 4-1, a series in which USA had a lot of young, beat up NCAA talent leading the way. Shout out to Layla Edwards. Big series
Hmm.
for her. Turn in the series. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself again, like, you could have had two dates where you had over 10,000 fans for, again, Canada, USA, women's hockey, the decades long rivalry.
It
That
doesn't
should
even
have,
get that better than that.
yeah. Because when the series began, Dave, the crowds looked great. And the series started in Cleveland, Buffalo, and the crowds in those cities looked great. It was a great
Hmm.
time in Cleveland, Buffalo. But coming to the border, I was just stunned because again, these are the last looks of these teams before they get ready for Italy. So, I mean, again, for Team USA's perspective, for them, that's a team that's a scary that's a scary club country right now. Canada got things sorted out right now. Again, a veteran heavy team that just couldn't compete with the youngsters of Team USA. But
Hmm.
in general, overall, like that, the marketing of this should have been so much better. It should have been the whole, hey, Canada, USA, last time see them. And again, you got the names, you got their Natalie Spooners, Hillary Knights, Marie-Philippe Poulin. Like, you got the legends of Canada and USA. And the future, like Lila Edwards, like Taylor Heisey, like Danielle Serdachny. You should have been marketing the hell out of these games.
I don't know what to tell you in this situation because it's like if I'm trying to get ready for basically defending my Olympic gold, right, and trying to win another one on international soil, and yet you do not have a platform where it's like, say, or no, you have a series where it does not have a platform to be able to not only showcase what we are, but also showcase what we can do. I'd feel pretty discouraged and not want to go as a player or as an athlete because it's like, oh yeah, I'm used to playing in small arenas all the time. It's like, no, like this is the world stage at this point. This is an Olympic gold medal on the line, and if you're going to basically desecrate any way, shape, or form of having support in that situation, if I'm like say a Natalie Spooner or or a Marie Philippe Poulin or a Hillary Knight, and I'm looking at the situation, it's like, oh yeah, it's an Olympic medal, but it's like it doesn't feel good when people don't see it.
Like, and again, it goes back to, and again, it could just be me assuming, but it really looked like Hockey Canada saying, you know what, hey, we don't need to market ourselves. People will come no matter what, which you cannot do. People, again, and people are busy, people are tied up. You gotta put yourself out there in these
Mm-hmm.
markets. You have no choice. I mean, yes, that was the one thing last year when the P-Dub came to Edmonton last year for a takeover tour. They did a really, really good job of having activations and events the entire week before
Mm-hmm.
Toronto and Ottawa played. They did a really good job of getting people engaged into that game. And I'm disappointed that the young Canada dropped the ball in that aspect again because yes, you're gonna watch Olympians for sure, but that entire lead up, I understand that. Yes, I understand the PW schedule is tight. I understand that yes, you got a league now, you got a league schedule. It's not gonna be as easy as it once was, but you needed something so people know what was going on.
Exactly. No, I fully agree.
So, I mean, with that being said, yes, Canada had a rough series. They were swept for the first time ever, but I do think we've seen before. This Canada team has gone into Olympic Games getting just demolished by the Americans and pulling out a gold medal. So I'm not gonna say, oh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I do want to see what they do when it comes to roster adjustments because I think Canada's gonna need that. But hey, I'm not gonna panic too much in that aspect. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that more as we get to close to February. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, just seeing how the attention just wasn't there, it kind of bummed me
Nope.
out. I loved
Nope.
covering it though, but man, the attention just needs to be there more.
No, I fully agree. And you know what? Like, if I'm Canada right now, like I need to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, what what type of young firepower can I use in this situation to combat the Americans?
Hmm.
But
Because yeah, because like I said, Dave, like it was the Americans are trusting in their young PETA players, young NCAA players, Abby Murphy, Taylor Heisey, Layla Edwards. Like I'm seeing the Americans, I think to myself, yo, if you can't match these young dynamic players on Team USA who will be a part of their roster for the next 10 to 15 years, that's not a good sign. And I think Canada has to play a lot of the young talent way more. And yes, wrong
no,
to and of course, respect to Brian James, respect to MPP, respect to MPP, our GOAT. Those, but everyone else around them, everyone else around the veterans, like you gotta move into the next era because the
mm-hmm.
Americans dogged walked you for 4 games in a row.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Canada can figure their proverbial shit out, um, within the next 2 months, we might have ourselves a very, very interesting walk up to the Olympic Games. But that's
Hmm.
if they can get the arena done on time.
Yo, it's again, we shouldn't even be having this debate. You have over 4 years to get this done.
I don't know, man. Like honestly, people really like playing chicken, especially in this day and age. But you know what? We're not going to focus on that because then we're going to start cussing and then we're going to get kicked off the air. So I think we should stop this right now.
Yes, good call.
Anyways, Avery, thank you for coming through. Obviously, it's been a short episode, but it's also been a fun episode. So,
Yes.
look, as always, thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. Of course, you can always find us on the socials at Toronto Third, both on Twitter and on Instagram. But like we said, don't send us any DMs unless you're willing to run the coin us. Um, you can also subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. That includes Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, and our friends over at Podbean. We will be back with another episode later on in the week. And of course, the season game of the week for the month of December. Uh, I'm not sure if we have that done yet, but we will have something done before Christmas. So, hey, maybe we'll watch a World Juniors game. You never know.
Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, we'll get back on there and do some games. It was a fun time doing it doing it on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube. Yeah, don't worry, we'll bring it back here this month here, and we'll do some more of that. It was fun doing a live stream during a game. We'll do some more of that this month here.
Yes, we definitely will. All right. So until next time, drink your water, mind your business, stay warm, and deuces.